The PIRC defense. You're about to learn everything there is to learn about the PIRC defense. Opening moves, middle game plans, the traps, the theory, everything. And if you're watching this video right now, one of the event already took place and there's two more happening. One is going to be 2 p.m. today. The other one is going to be 8 p.m. today. So if you already bought my book, then check your email. I sent the links to join the meeting. If you haven't bought the book as yet, you can still do it. Just send me an email with the word book to this email to pick up your copy. But if you're trying to master the PERT, watch this full video. Apply what I teach and watch your ratings goes through the roof. Kicking things off on the 500 region, today I'm going to be showing you guys the PIRC defense. A lot of you guys like this opening. The idea is to play knight f6, play g6, fianchetto the bishop, and we're basically going to get that very solid position. So the bishop goes to c4. Let's just keep developing. And then after the king castle, we're going to castle. Tactics alert. We already got him. I mean, playing b3 with a bishop on g7, just hiding the rook is already crazy. Because the bishop is on the same line as the unprotected rook, we sat the knight on e4. Guys, pre-moving. He's actually pre-moving. Okay, if he takes my knight, I'm still going to win the bishop. So let's just keep developing normally here. He did take the knight, but now we grab the bishop. Attack the rook. Rook now has to move. I'll pull my bishop back, and his knight and his bishop will also be sitting in a pawn fork pattern. So let's just save my bishop. My opponent is playing very fast, by the way, guys. Very, very fast. h3. Okay, that's not a tactic. Almost thought I got him, but, well, I'm going to take, but pawn to d5 does not work here, guys. And the reason why it doesn't work is after he takes and then I take, my queen is going to be on the same line as his queen, and knight f6 wins my queen. So because of that, I'm going to play c6, preparing the fork. But now he should see that he needs to move one of his pieces out of the way. And he's trying to get his rook in the game, but that's just a fork. Because now if the bishop takes, I'm going to take back with the pawn. So we're already ahead by a pawn. We're about to win a piece. So we're going to be ahead by 3 solid points. So he sat the bishop. Now we take, hit the knight. Knight has to move. And I'll just finish development. Okay, he puts the knight there. Wasn't expecting that square. He is attacking this. But let's just attack the knight again. If he puts the knight on b7, the knight is just going to be trapped. So he has to just pull the knight back to d3. And that's what he did. And now we finish our development. His queen and his knight is in a pawn fork pattern, guys. So if I'm able to get my pawn on the e4 square, then that's going to win me more material. So pawn c3, he's trying to prevent knight d4. Let's go e5, going for this pawn fork. He saw it, man. He saw it. Move the knight out the way. All right, let's just hit the queen. I'm going to try to develop some attack on his king now. Queen moves out the way. Let's swing the queen into the attack. I'm trying to get all my pieces over to his king side now. Okay, he's trying to trade the queens. Usually when you're attacking someone's king, you don't want to trade the queens. I mean, if you're ahead by 3 points, then trading queens is always going to be fine. But I'd prefer to play knight e5 and gain back the tempo on his queen. Or even f5. f5 is fine as well. Then he pulls the queen back. Okay, let's just roll the f-pawn up the board. The further I push the f-pawn, the more dangerous the attack becomes, especially if he allows the pawn to get to f3. So he moves the pawn to f3. Let me just swing my last piece over in the game. Okay, he took. I'll take back. Still want to roll this pawn up the board. Going for his king now. All right, knight comes in. Doesn't do much. Going for the king here, guys. I'm basically doing a pawn storm. Okay, I want to push. Maybe not yet. Maybe not yet. Maybe I'm going to chase away the knight, try to get this knight in the game. He's attacking this twice. Let's kick the knight first. Pawn f3 is not bad anymore, because after takes, I'm going to play rook takes, and his king is going to be exposed. Yeah, the knight does not belong around there. He needed the knight to at least defend his king. Now we are going for that king. So pawn takes, I'm gonna play rook takes. The bishop can join the attack. The queen can join the attack. Oh, look at this. He can actually sack his queen to trade the queens off the board. Still winning for me, but if he really wanted to trade the queens off the board, he could have done that. He took a free pawn instead, attacking my unprotected knight, by the way, but now we're going for the king. King is just way too exposed to not get checkmated here. Okay, so he moves the rook to e3. I mean, not sure if this is going to lead to checkmate, but let's go for it. King goes here, I take. King comes over, I check. King goes back over. Or we play bishop e5. Doesn't have to be a check. Hopefully, I'm not missing any checkmating ones because you guys are always finding it. But how is he going to defend against queen h2? Maybe, okay, maybe he can just pull the queen back. He pulls the rook back instead. All right. Check him here. King has to move. Check him here. King has to move again. Bring more pieces in the attack. King now has to go here. That's a checkmate. That's a checkmate. But that's also a checkmate. More PIRC defense against 600 level players. Stick around. Opponent is now 600. Let's play some more PIRC defense. Okay, knight c3. We hit the pawn. I mean, it's already guarded, but it's the setup that we're gonna get is very, very simple. Like regardless of what they play, after d6, we go knight f6, g6, fianchet to the bishop, and castle or king. Okay, that's definitely a new move, and he's about to blunder upon if he actually develops the tactic alert, guys. Already we have tactic alert. It's crazy. Now, why is this a tactic? First of all, his bishop is on the same line as my bishop, and his bishop is unprotected, which means once I go ahead and take this pawn, if he decides to take, I mean, he doesn't have to, but if he does, I take the bishop. So I sack my knight, get back a bishop for the knight, so we won a pawn. And if he just does not do anything, then I'm still going to be ahead by a pawn. So he basically plays knight to f3. I'll just get the king out the center of the board, knowing that if he takes, it's going to be the same thing. Okay, he decides to castle. And okay, fine. No, I'll just take. I'll take, and then I'll play e5. Usually in the PIRC, you guys are going to be learning that if you trade off the dark squared bishop, it's easier for white to attack your king. So the longer you're able to keep your dark squared bishop on the board, the better it is, especially if it's some opposite side castles type of scenario. Okay, he took with the pawn anyways, still going to play e5. We definitely want to have some central control. And I'm now noticing that his knight and his bishop is in a pawn fork pattern. Not able to fork just yet because, I mean, I would need to protect the square. So let's actually go d5 here. Playing d5 gives me central control. Now I'm threatening to play e4. Guy does not care, or I'm assuming he just didn't see it, and now we just fork. So pawn fork patterns, knight fork patterns, like you guys need to be able to spot these types of patterns. Is this bishop is also hanging, so I'm assuming he has to trade here first, but his pieces are still gonna be forked. Okay, so he did trade. We grab this, still in a fork. Okay, he saves the bishop. We grab the knight. And I'm ahead by 3 points. I mean, let's just trade the queens off the board. The game is going to be way easier once we trade the queens, and I don't necessarily have to think too much, when the queens are off the board, because I'm ahead by a piece. I'll take any trades from here. Okay, he didn't trade. Very principled guy. Not trying to trade being down in material. Now we're just going to develop. Maybe I should have took there, but I'm ahead by so much. I'm interested in trades. Like just a pawn by itself is not going to do much. This is what I want to see. The trades. Will he trade the queens off the board, or will he just pull the queen back? Okay, he decides to trade. Now my king is getting a bit more active. Maybe that's when he's going to take. It doubles up his pawns though, so I don't care about that. H3 didn't really do much. Let's start targeting the pawns and also try to go for some trades. All right, so bishop goes here, saves the bishop, guard the pawn. Let's develop and hit the bishop. He's able to take here. Okay, don't mind seeing these trades. Once he takes, my king is in check, but king e5 is just a very active king. Now he hits the knight, but that's even more material. We check his king, simply grab the pawn. Okay, king moves, we take. This pawn is also hanging. Swinging my rooks, just getting my rooks to be a bit more active will make the game easier for me. But I'm just trying to get a pass pawn. Like the moment I get a pass pawn, the game is going to be way easier for me. For example, play b5 and then just start rolling this pawn up the board. Okay, that doesn't do anything. Let's play b5, roll the pawn. He's applying pressure to my knight. That's crazy. That's a level 1 blunder, bro. Like maybe he thinks something was guarding the rook. That's a rook, bro. He resigns. But more PIRC defense against 700 players. Sticker, our opponent is now 700. More pure defense coming your way. At knight f3, we go knight f6, hit the pawn. He guards the pawn. Now we play g6, getting our regular setup. h3 prevents bishop to g4. And there's actually some pure defense players out there when their opponent plays h3, now they don't know what to do with the bishop. As I always say, if the bishop can't go to g4, you don't have to move the bishop. For example, just put the knight in front of the bishop, bro. Like eventually, you'll find something to do with the bishop. Castle, we play e5. This is the regular, natural, pure defense setup that we're going for. And since they pin our knight to the queen, it means they want to apply pressure. So we're going to play c6 to prevent that. All right, now he plays a3. That move wasn't really necessary, to be honest. But okay, remember when I told you guys that you don't have to worry about your bishop? Now there's a lot of things that I could do. What I like to do in these types of scenarios is to try to maneuver my knight to e6, which hits the bishop, get the knight on d4. And okay, now he plays d4. I'll just take. My goal from here is to try to win the pawn on e4. I'm not able to take right now due to the pin, but I'm going to play the move h6 and chase away his bishop. And if he takes my knight, I go bishop takes and hit the queen. All right, so he did take. Let's take it the queen. Queen now has to move. Think it would be best if he tries to, yeah, attack this pawn. All right, let's just go back in order to guard the pawn. My pawn on d6 is also weak, and I'm expecting a rook to be on the same line as my queen. So from here, I'll move my queen out. Though remember when I told you guys that these are, well, not d8. D8 is not a square in the PIRC. So it's usually these are the squares that you want to put your queen on in the PIRC, depending on the position. But now he plays e5, which is kind of weird. Like maybe he thinks my pawn is the main defender of the knight, so he plays e4. The thing about this though is once I take on e5, he's not able to take on c5 because queen takes c5 and I'm just fine here. So he attacks the knight, and this guy's playing very fast, by the way, guys. He's playing very, very fast. If I put the knight on e6, then I lose this. So I'll just put the knight back on d7. That's fine. Eventually, I could go knight to b6, put my bishop somewhere, swing my rooks in the game. Then he plays b4. Again, he's playing very fast because now I'm able to put my knight back on this c5 square. And c5 square is a good square for the knight. It has many forward moves in the opponent's position. And since he takes, I'll take back. Pawn on c6 is usually very important, preventing a knight from coming to the d5 square. Now his plan is to simply double up the rooks on the d file. It's not a bad plan, by the way. Pawn e4, there's knight d4. All right, let's just develop, apply some pressure here. I'm assuming he's going to double up the rooks on the d file. Oh, instead he blundered the knight. That's crazy, bro. I mean, the guy was playing very well, to be honest, but this is just counting. I have two pieces on the square. He only has the queen. So once I take on e4, hit the rook, this is just winning for black. Now he just has to move the rook out the way. Good game, though. I mean, I think he played the opening well, but the middle game was definitely his issue. Okay, now he moves the rook, which is on the same line as my bishop. So let's just move my knight out. Actually, let's go here and attack his knight because my goal is to trade. So once he moves the rook, I'll just trade. The more I trade, the easier it is going to be for me to win the game. So he saw that, moved the rook out the way, and now we trade. But guess where he puts the rook? Right on the same line as my bishop. Guys, pieces on the same line is the third most important tactical weaknesses that you guys need to be able to spot in your games after king safety and unprotected pieces. So once the bishop takes, we play e4, we hit the bishop. This is called a discovered attack. But because the rooks are on the same line, he's going to be losing even more material here. All of these tactical weaknesses you guys can learn if you just get a copy of my book. And how to get my book, send the word book to the email on the screen. He didn't even take back the bishop. Maybe he's tilting. But let's just pull the bishop back. Now I'm ahead by 9 whole points. He was playing so well, though. That was playing so well. F3. Okay. Let's swing the rook in the game. Now I'm just trying to trade. Guess what? His queen and his king is on the same line. Would be funny if I'm able to set up something that has to do with the fact that look at this, look at this, look at this. Remember what I just said. I'm going to try to set up a tactic. The queen and the king is on the same line. Take the rook with check. Bishop has to take, and then play rook to d1 and attack the bishop. What am I trying to do? I'm not just attacking the bishop. I'm threatening this. He saw it though. move the queen back. And now I'll just take on e4. And I'm going to choose to take with the queen because I'm ahead by so many points. Also, he's not really able to take on e4 because then I take the bishop first and then he's just losing everything. So he did take the queen. I'm not going to take. This is called an in-between move, guys. Take the bishop first with check. After he gets out of check, but he resigns. More PIRC defense against 800 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 800. We're playing some more PIRC defense. So d4, we already hit the pawn. We're expecting knight c3 or bishop d3, but same procedure, bishop g7 and castle king. Okay, bishop is on c4. Already I'm thinking about the knight takes e4 tactical idea, which all PIRC defense players should know, by the way. But usually I do not recommend you do it if your king is still in the center. I mean, it's fine if you do it now, but practice to get your king out the center of the board first. And if they still continue to develop their pieces normally here, then we take. Pawn to e5 here, though, wouldn't be a terrible move. Well, Queen f3 is also nice because now I'm not able to take because he's going to play queen takes. And if I play d5, it just doesn't work. And that's why I'm going to play the move pawn c6 first. There's also some bishop g4 ideas to hit the queen. Now that he pulls the knight, or now that he develops the knight, I could consider playing knight e4. But here's what we're going to do. Finish our development first. Let's develop the bishop, hit the queen. And because the light squared bishop is the bad bishop in the PIRC, then I have no issues just taking on e2 next move. And otherwise, if I do not take on e2, he's going to play f3. So let's take on e2. Knight now needs to be developed. Usually in these types of positions, I could play d5. And no, is it a good time to sack? Takes, queen takes, push, knight takes, bishop takes. Still doesn't work. So let's just develop and try to play e5. Once the queen is able to take, the d5 idea won't work. Okay, so king is castled. It's opposite side castles, guys. You know the drill. We're going for that king. And since my queen is on the same line as his rook, let's get the queen off of that. And I'm trying to play some b5, and I'm also trying to play e5. E5 wouldn't have worked with my queen being x-rayed by his rook. Okay, that I don't 100% understand it. Let's go with b5, hit the bishop, trying to set up some attack now. Bishop b3 I'm expecting. Can also play e5, hit the other bishop. Now it's time for us to attack. Okay, bishop goes back to d3. The knight is the main defender of the pawn. It's a tactic alert. Slight tactic alert, but it's a tactic alert nonetheless. Since the knight is the only defender of the pawn, once I play b4, we win a pawn. This is called removing the guard. So anytime you see a piece that is only being guarded once, try to see if you can remove the defender or set up tactics where you're trying to remove the defender, because it's not every time a tactic is just going to fall from the sky. So the knight goes back. Now we grab the free pawn. His king is also a bit claustrophobic, so he needs to be careful. I'm assuming he's gonna move this pawn. I think that's the only way for him to not get checkmated right now, because I am threatening a checkmate. Okay, so he saw that, and before I take, I need to ensure that I'm getting my rook on the file. How is this attack gonna work? Pawn push shouldn't really help since he's able to block with the bishop. And I'm also not able to just easily get the rook on b1. So it's not going to be like a very easy attack. I'm still going to have to build up on it a bit. Okay, that was the expected move. I'm still going to put the queen on a1 because at least the bishop is pinned. Like, I want to set up some ideas where if I take, he's not able to take back due to the pin. But for now, if I take, the knight could still take. Okay, c4 was played. I'm going to play c5 so that way my bishop could join the attack. It wouldn't have been bad for me to take though, because now my rook isn't really that active. e5, aggressive. All right, so here we go, knight h5. Hit the unprotected bishop. I want to be able to just get rid of these pawns, so my bishop is way more active. Hopefully my queen is not misplaced on a8. Okay, bishop moves. Now we start getting rid of these pawns. I don't care that this is hanging, by the way. Let's just take. All right, that's not good, because my knight becomes a new attacking piece. I mean, knight here is not going to lead to mate, though. Ooh, look at that guy setting up forks. I'm going to check him first. Check him first, force the king to move. This is not really going to work since he's going to sack. So first I'm going to move my rook out the way. Save the bishop. then I can go for this. There's also some ideas where I put my queen on the same line as his king, then I set up this covered attack. Maybe I'm going to go for that one because my queen is a bit misplaced here anyways. Okay, rook moves. Didn't save the bishop, but he hits the knight. With that being said, I am forced to check him here. It wins material though, because it's basically a fork, so the rook has to take. And the funny thing is, after I take back, his bishop is now pinned. So the bishop can't move. Because if he moves the bishop, he loses the queen. Okay, now he's attacking my knight. It's fine. I'll just move the knight. Also attacking the queen. Queen has to go somewhere. All right, so the queen hits the knight. I don't really care though, because if he takes my knight, I take his bishop. I'm searching for some mates here. It's so hard to find mate in this position. Because the knight guards this, but the king is the main defender of the bishop. So if he puts the bishop here, if he puts the king here, he loses the bishop. If he puts the king here, that check could lead to mate. So king goes back, push the pawn, so that way once I check him here, the king is not able to. What did I calculate? What did I calculate? Oh no, that didn't make any sense. I could have still checked. Because if the king goes here, I take the bishop. That's what I wanted. I thought I had to push the pawn in order to do this. Pushing the pawn doesn't make any sense, guys. I could have just checked the king and take the bishop. So I'm the one who is wasting time. Now he takes my bishop. And the funny thing is, if I take his bishop, he takes my rook. So let's check him here and try to pull his king out in the center of it. And so now that he takes the queen, we're able to take. All right. Queen is still very misplaced. Okay, it's okay to trade though. Now we attack this. Queen was just not doing anything on the back rank at all. Anyway, how he decides to defend, I should be able to apply more pressure. So he defends with the queen, we apply more pressure to the pawn. Now the knight comes in. Oh, that's a pawn, bro. He's not able to take because pin pieces don't protect. If he checks here, he loses the queen. And if he checks here, I'll just block with the bishop. Okay, we block with the bishop. Knight is still pinned. Okay, knight is no longer pinned. Check. Bishop block, apply pressure to the bishop. I'm expecting the queen to go back to defend. Okay, he's just giving us the bishop. His time is running out, guys, so I'm expecting some inferior moves here. Okay, there has to be a mate. Has to. There just has to be a checkmate here. Like, I'm not seeing the mate immediately, but some positions there just has to be mate. If the okay, here's it. That's a checkmate. More PIRC defense against 900 level players. Stick around. Opponent is now 900. We're playing some more PIRC defense. D4. We hit the pawn. All right, let's just get the regular PIRC structure out of the way. We should know what's happening here. Bishop goes to G7. King is castled. Good, good, good. And already I'm assuming, especially if he castles here, very, very simple tactic alert. Just based off pattern recognition alone. You guys know that knight takes e4 is strong. Like, this happens too much. If you're a pure defense player, know this. Sack the knight. Once the knight takes, the knight and a bishop is in a pawn 4 pattern, and then you just play pawn d5 and fork it back. Okay, he just didn't take. Usually when they don't take and then you take the knight, you're just going to be playing with an extra pawn. And we know the idea with this light squared bishop. The light squared bishop is the bad bishop in the PIRC. Our goal is to take on f3, but we don't take on f3 unless they attack our bishop. Now we take, and then the moment the queen takes, we need to look on our b7 pawn and play c6. Knight c6 is also fine, but c6 is just something that I always play. Now, the rook is attacking b7. Okay, let's just go queen c7, another PIRC defense move. I like to tell people that these are usually the squares that the queen is going to be on once you play the PIRC. All right, rook joins the game. I want to go knight d7, but then this is going to be hanging. I almost played rook to e8. What the heck? How am I going to develop here? Pawn b5 is going to take. Let's just play d5 and kick this bishop. Now I don't have to worry about f7. Bishop goes back. Now I'm going to play e5. If he takes, I take. I'm fine. I'm just trying to develop my knight here, guys. If I developed my knight from before, then the rook would have been able to take. So that's why I'm playing the move d5 first. So he took. We take back. Now once we play knight d7, we're ahead by a pawn. His pawns are also doubled, and I mean, black has to be better here. c4 is a nice idea. Trying to get the bishop back in the game. Very nice move, by the way. I'm going to play d4. I'm going to try my best to keep his light squared bishop, a bad bishop. If he plays c5, then he really wants the bishop in the game. Okay, now this pawn is going to be a target, but then I'm able to play c5. His light squared bishop is not going to be doing anything for a while. Unless he puts it here, still doesn't really do much. So now I can choose between playing knight d7 or knight c6. Okay, rook moves. Let's just keep developing. I mean, c3 is fine. Yeah, I guess he's gonna take. If I take, he's gonna take back. We know that to take is a mistake. So let me just use that time to swing my rook in the game. Let him be the one who do the capturing, and then I'm just gonna take. If I take, bishop takes, I takes, queen takes, I have nothing. So to take is still a mistake. Now every single piece that I have is active here. All right, so pawn takes, still not seeing much. All right, I want to take with the knight, but he's obviously going to take, and that doesn't do anything. So let's just take with the pawn. I want to be able to set up some tactics. For example, if the queen moves away and it no longer guards this rook, then discovered attacks could win material. All right, he moves the bishop off of this diagonal. Pawn push hits the rook. If rook takes, I'll still have nothing. Interesting. Let's play a waiting move. Let's play king g7. Let's be very patient. All my pieces are on good squares, so some tactical weakness should present itself very soon. Oh, shoot, wait. Couldn't I have played? Nah, that doesn't make sense. I was thinking about d4 and knight, d3, knight d4. Doesn't make ton of sense. All right, this is now being targeted, so maybe I have to just go for it. The queen guards f7, so I'm fine there. If he plays rook takes, thinking he's winning a pawn, then I just jump in with the knight, and that's a fork. Okay, we got him, guys. Knight d4, hit the queen, hit the rook. I mean, he's more than likely he's going to sacrifice the rook. He has to sack the rook. Because if it's a case where I take on e2 and the queen takes on e2, then he's losing his queen with discovered attacks. I think he sacrificed the wrong rook. Because that's a queen, bro. With check. Now, who rooks are hanging in your position? He resigns. More PIRC defense against 1,000 level players. Stick around. Opponent is now 1,000. We are playing some more PIRC defense. And after d4, we go knight f6. And after knight f3, we play g6. So you guys are already knowing what. Oh, no. He blundered the pawn. I thought he played knight c3. Okay, I need to lock in. After knight f3, we do not play g6. He just blundered the pawn. This guy. That's fine though. This is what you're usually going to be seeing, by the way, guys. This setup, assuming they don't just blunder their pawn. All right, so bishop to e3. We can get away with playing early e5 because if they take and then play knight takes e4. Basically wins back material. So he decides to castle. Now we go bishop g4. And basically what I tell you guys a lot is the light squared bishop is usually the bad bishop in the PIRC. So now he took, I take back. The knight is not able to take due to the pin. And I'm expecting him to play h3. Usually we do not take the knight until they do play h3. But once he plays h3, that's when I'm going to take. So he didn't do that. Guess he wants the queens off the board. I'm just going to go queen e7 here. So that way I'm able to go rook to d1 and attack his queen. Also, more important moves that you can play is moves like c6. Because when you play c6 as a PIRC player, you prevent a knight from coming to d5 as well. Okay, now he plays knight g5. He's threatening my bishop. But first, let's gain the tempo on the queen. And then after he moves the queen, then we take his bishop. And then we're going to continue with our regular PIRC defense plans. Okay, he moves the queen out the way. Now we trade and then just develop normally. Still want to ensure that I'm on the lookout for this. Let's chase away this knight first. So it's not guarding e4. Knight back. I want to play knight c6. Rook d1, knight d4. But that's going to lose material. So I'm actually going to just go ahead and play c6. Like, usually when they get the chance to put a knight on d5, it's just too annoying. So now he plays rook to d1. I'll go knight d7, finishing my development. And there's some knight to g4 ideas that I'd play here. Now he moves the queen, which means there's two pieces attacking h6. He's also putting his queen on the same line as my rook. But knight to g4 not only protect h6, but it attacks his bishop. And throughout watching this video, you guys are going to understand that if you're ever able to use your knight to capture the opponent's dark square bishop, then you'll never have to worry about them attacking your king. So he took with the queen. How am I going to do this? Usually, if we're able to play some f5 types of moves, it complicates the position a bit. And if they trade, I'm able to either play e4 or f4. And he's going to have to be thinking about it the whole time. Now, playing f5 without the opponent having a pawn on d5 and without the position being closed, it's usually a bit hard, which is why now I'm just going to play f4 to chase away the queen. And eventually I may have a knight on the c5 square or maybe on the c4 square. Okay, queen goes back. Let's go knight c5. I want to do a little maneuver where I play knight to e6 followed by... I knew this is what he wanted. He just wants to trade. He just wants to trade all the pieces off the board. All right, how am I going to do this? This is likely going to go into an endgame, which is fine. Let's just play b5. b5 is to prevent any queen checks. And, our endgame abilities should be able to win here. Okay, so b4 was played. Hits the knight. I'll pull the knight back to e6. Now the queen hits the pawn, even though I'm expecting him to trade. Okay, now we take. Think he's going to want to just keep trading the pieces off the board, but we're good with the endgame. If he wants endgame, he'll get endgame. Okay, now a4. I don't really want to take because I don't want his queen getting access here. So I'm just going to play a6, and if he takes, I just take back. Eventually, my goal is to have the knight on d4. Okay, let's take back. All right, knight goes back to a2. That's not a good score for a knight. Definitely not a good score for a knight. Let me slightly increase the activity of my queen. I want to go knight d4, but he's going to simply take. My dark squared bishop is not the most active here. Like, definitely want it on another diagonal. Okay, now that he push, what if I takes, play pawn takes? If he takes, I push, force the queen to move, then I take. All right, that's also a bit weird. How does this work? Okay, I think I'm just gonna take. And then after the queen takes, my knight is gonna be pinned. Or yeah, so I'm just gonna get out of the pin. Ideally, I want my knight on this square. But it would be very cool if I'm able to chase away this knight first. Okay, I'm assuming he's expecting some check, so he's just moving his king. Let's go with g5 here. I want to be able to play h5 followed by g4. Then he moves his knight. Okay, wait, this is weird. If I take his knight, he takes my knight. If I take this knight, he checks. And that check is definitely going to lead to a draw. So we don't want that. Let's just continue rolling these pawns up the board. Maybe I could get some attack on his king out of this. So knight comes around here. Maybe he wants the knight here. Let's continue with our idea of trying to attack his king. It's very risky though because we are pushing the pawns on the side that our king is on. And then after knight c5, takes. Yeah, let's do this. Let's take here. I'm assuming he's going to want to take with the queen, trying to trade. Queen g6 or queen d2 is what I'm expecting there. But he took with the pawn. So we have to still keep in mind any possible checks that he's going to eventually have with the queen. All right, I like this. If I play here, okay, this attacks. Oh, it doesn't attack the knight. The queen guards the knight. I need to be careful about perpetual checks now. Queen e6 would be a real nice move. Okay, so he took. Wait, what if I take here? And then if he takes, now let's just take back. Let's just take back. Now this is hanging. But honestly, I think what he could try here is to just try to infiltrate with his queen and then try to use this to get a perpetual check. I think that's the best thing that he could do here. Okay, he's bringing the knight in the game, but that is indeed a free pawn, and we're going to take it. Then he brought the queen back in the game because he wants to trade, but that is indeed another pawn. Wait, if I takes, queen takes, check. Yeah, that's definitely going to end in a draw. That's definitely going to end in a draw. Oh, this is kind of weird now. Let's check him here first. See what's really happening. Because I don't want to take that. Oh, wait, the knight. Oh, wait, that's a knight. That was an accident. I did not see that, but that was nice. He resigns. More pure defense against 1100 rated players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1100. We are playing some more pure defense. Okay, bishop c4 we develop, hit the pawn. I'm expecting pawn d3 or knight c3. I am attacking the pawn, so he needs to be careful. But usually knight c3, pawn d4 gives white very good central control. I did not defend the pawn, and I'm not gonna miss it 2 times around. Like sometimes when you attack the pawn, they just outright just don't defend the pawn. It's crazy. And the knight on e4 may become a target, but for now it's not. So let's just keep developing. Anytime he attacks it, if he attacks it with the pawn, I'll just pull it back. Okay, pawn to d4. Let's keep developing here. Still didn't attack it with a pawn. But since he attacks it with the rook, okay, there's 2 options that I have. I can play d5 with the bishop, or I could just pull the knight back. I'm just going to pull the knight back to keep the regular PIRC defense setup. Now he's developing. I'll get my king out the center. And he appears to have a lead in development, and that's because I had to move my knight more than once in the opening, but I am ahead by a pawn already. He's finishing his development. Very important bishop g4 move. Remember, the light squared bishop is the bad bishop in the PIRC defense. If they play h3, that's when we take. Otherwise, we go knight d7, pawn c6, and eventually we try to play e5. Okay, he did play h3, so now we take. And once the queen takes, b7 is going to be under attack. So don't forget about this one. Now I play c6, and eventually I could play d5. Queen moves over to e3. The thing about this move is now he has 2 pieces attacking e7, and there are cases where he could play bishop h6. So let's just play rook to e8 and prevent both of them. If the bishop goes here, I'll just pull back. Okay, a3 is like an unnecessary pawn move. Since his queen is on the same line as my actually, let me finish my development. Let's finish development first. Like I want to play e5, but I don't want to keep my knight on the back of the board for too long. Oof, d5. Thing is with d5 is I have 2 attackers, he has 2 defenders. But if I play knight b6, I'm attacking the bishop and the pawn, which means now I have 3 attackers versus 2 defenders, and he needs to ensure that he does not lose that bishop. With that being said, we're about to win another pawn. Okay, so he saves the bishop. I takes. Let's just take here first. If he plays knight takes, I actually have to play knight takes. Otherwise, if I play pawn takes, he eliminates the knight, which means maybe I took with the wrong knight. I'm not even sure anymore. Because if I play pawn takes, he eliminate the knights, then take. If I take this way, however, he's able to take and then take on e7, but that's just going to be too risky for him. If he takes on e7, then there's a high possibility that he's going to lose that bishop. Now, my bishop is also targeting b2. So the rook guards b2. I'd love to play e5. That would be a nice center for me, but my pawn is pinned, so let's move the queen first, attack the unprotected pawn. Okay, the queen guards the pawn, also attacking this. So let's go d4 in order to not lose my pawn. Eventually, I want to play e5, and I'm just going to have such a nice center. Okay, come on, bro. Why would you take here? It's just counting. I have 2 pieces defending. You're underguarding with your rook. That's a bishop, bro. No, I'm just ahead by a piece. God just gift me a piece. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, rook hits the queen. We move the queen out the way. I mean, there's also a rook c8 coming, and his c-pawn is going to be under attack. So, for example, after b4, we simply hit the pawn. Maybe rook e2 guards the pawn, but there's not much that he can do here. Yeah, rook c1 is also too passive, bro. In fact, since I'm ahead by 4, we're just going to try to trade the queens off the board. You're ahead in material, just trade the queens. That will make it way easier. Okay, he does not want to trade, which is the correct thing to do. But once I push, keep in mind, the pawn on c2 is pinned. If he ever tries to take, he's going to lose the rook, which is what he did. That's a rook, buddy. Now if he takes, I just take. Good game, bro. So the queen takes, we check, he resigns. More PIRC defense against 1200 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1200. We are playing some more PIRC defense. Knight f6, we go, knight f3, we go knight f6 and attack the pawn. And you guys already know my next, 3 moves. 1, 2, 3. Blocking out the bishop to guard the pawn, not really good. You could have played knight c3, but let's continue with our plan. Okay, now he plays knight c3. So I'm expecting some bishop e2 and castle, which is fine. Okay, bishop e3. Let's get the king castled. And queen d2. Something that we talk about a lot is once you see this battery, they want to play bishop to h6. So move the rook out the way. meet bishop h6 with bishop h8, and the attack becomes harder for them. Also, in the future, you're going to be able to play knight g4 and attack their bishop anyways. Ooh, very early e5 was played, which is fine. I mean, I'm just going to take. It doesn't really do much, to be honest. Now he took with the knight, and I'm just going to go knight d7 here. If he takes, I go bishop takes. He's helping me to finish my development, and I can always put my bishop on c6. And yeah, that's going to be a nice diagonal for a bishop. I'm expecting him to castle on the queen side, even though bishop e2 and king side castle is also fine. Okay, he pulls the bishop back. That I wasn't expecting. I want to play bishop c6, but let's play c5 first. Because maybe if he wants to play d4 in the future, I'm able to take. I need my pawn controlling some central squares. But if he castle on the queen side, then I can also roll the queen side pawns up the board. Okay, he's definitely going on the king side. All right, bishop e2. Let's go bishop to c6, targeting the g2 pawn. And once the king castle, it will become a focal point of attack. So he did castle the king. Let's go with queen c7 here. Now I have two pieces targeting two of his focal points. I mean, he's able to play bishop f4, hit the queen, but I'll just play e5 and attack the bishop. And then after the bishop move, I swing my last piece in the game. Now every single piece is going to be active. What he needs to do is to pull the bishop back to g3, but he puts the bishop back on g5. Let's swing the last piece in the game. It's kind of like self-pinning because my knight is now pinned to the rook, but there's not much that he can do with that. And he needs to be careful about the fact that my rook is on the same line as his queen. Okay, and that's why he moves the queen out the way. It's never going to be possible to play h6. Queen is hitting this unprotected pawn. Okay, let's just play b6, guard it. Could have also pulled the bishop back. Yo, bishop f3 is a really nice move. That's a really nice move. Because for one, I don't want to take, because if I take, the queen is just going to come to f3. That's a nice move. But on the other hand, I think I have to take. But I don't want to take. All right, I think I need to just solve this pin first. Let's just solve the issue. Let's go rook d6, get out of the pin. Now it's going to be a bit easier for me to move my knight, for example. Now that he plays knight e4, I should be able to take. I think he's fine with just trading everything off the board. My rook is always going to be under attack, so let's take. And if he plays bishop takes, I go f5, hit the bishop. I'm basically forcing him to take here. It's a fine position that he has, but my pieces are just more active than his. Okay, now we take. Now I have all my pieces are active. King is slightly weak, but all my pieces are active. I think he messed up there because then his bishop is going to be a bit harder to join the game. And because he plays f4, his queen and his king is on the same line, which means if I'm able to get my bishop here, I'm winning some material. If I take, queen takes, and he's fine. With that being said, I'm going to push. And now if he plays c3, he's losing a pawn. I'm not even sure what he needs to do here. Maybe he needs to move his king out of the way. Because the moment he allows this, it's over. Oh boy, it's over now. He played very well though. And that's the thing, guys. And this is why I tell you guys that you need to work on your tactics. Because sometimes, it's not really hard to just play positionally. Like you're literally just moving your pieces around. But then you can just be playing positionally and then there's a tactic that comes out of nowhere. So you definitely have to build up your tactical awareness. That being said, ensure that you grab a copy of my book. Send the word book to this email and pick up your copy. Maybe he's going to resign here. Okay, he sacked the queen instead. And from here, it's just going to be very simple conversion. He took, let's just take back. Bishop is going to take a while to join the game. And the fact that he's down in material and he's trading is kind of crazy. Look at this. How is he going to defend against a checkmate here? And yes, he has a check. I'm just going to run. And if he checks me again, I go one step back. He's not going to have any more checks and he's just going to be getting mated. So he checks. We go here. Oh, shoot, that's a rook. I missed the rook, but that's just a checkmate. More PIRC defense against 1,300 players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1,300. Let's play some more PIRC defense. So d4, we go knight f6, hit the pawn. And you guys know the drill. Bishop goes to g7. We're going to castle the king. Bishop g5 or bishop f4 followed by e5 is usually the two main ways in which the opponent could try to attack us. But let's see how this guy's going to develop. Putting the bishop on c4 is usually not the best because, you guys know the typical peer defense tactics. For example, if he decides to castle his king here, then we're basically able to set up a pawn fork pattern. Even if he decides not to castle his king, we're still able to set up this pawn fork pattern. So if you're ever a peer defense player, you need to know this tactical idea where you sacrifice the knight on e4, allowing them to take, and then we just fork. And it basically gives white complete, or it gives black complete equality. Now black has nothing to worry about. Wow. What's even better for black because he could have just took and then get back the pawn. But now once I take his knight, I'm now just ahead by a pawn. From here, it's just normal development. We know the drill. Put the bishop on g4 anytime you can. Do not take the knight unless they play h3. And then once they take back your bishop, the queen or the bishop, whichever what they take with, depending on the position, will be attacking b7. So we usually want to play moves like pawn to c6 if we're going to be playing the pure defense. Pawn to c6 also allows us to play moves like pawn to d5 and attack his bishop, or pawn to b5 and attack the bishop. So now we play pawn c6, regular stuff. Okay, that's a nice move because now he's targeting my unprotected pawn, which I'll simply defend with queen c7. And one thing that you guys need to keep in mind, the queen in the pure defense usually goes to e7, c7, b6, a5. Like those are usually the typical squares where you put the queen. So once you finish your development or not, or you want to find somewhere to put your queen, those are the squares that the queen belongs. Okay, now he's trying to ensure that his rook is in the game. Let's finish our development first. Now all our pieces are off the back rank. Rooks and king is the only pieces on the back rank, and we're only 12 moves in. Okay, I think there's an attack that is about to come with h4, which I'm not afraid of. So, because I mean, the pawn by itself is not going to do anything. So let's just continue playing our regular pure defense ideas with pawn to e5. If he ever decides to take, knight takes hits both the queen and the bishop. And he continues with the attack. Again, we don't care. In fact, since the bishop is pointing towards my king, why can't I just play d5, hit the bishop? Bishop has to move. There's not like really good scores for the bishop, by the way. And if he puts the bishop on b3, he's going to be down by a piece. Like, I don't necessarily have to capture that bishop for that bishop to just be not participating in the game, by the way. So it's best if he just pull his bishop back. And obviously, if he puts his bishop on d3, he's putting his bishop and the queen in a pawn fork pattern, which now we're just able to play pawn e4, and that's a fork. Guys, like, if a 1300 is missing these, then just work on your pattern recognition. Trust me, work on your tactics, because this is all I need to win the game. Just one tactic. Once we get this tactic, now it's just a matter of trades. So he attacks my queen, which is a move I was expecting, because now if I take his queen, he takes my queen. I'll just move the queen out the way. And I'm also going to ensure that I keep my pawn on b7 guarded. What I'm expecting from him now is to sack, which he didn't. So let's just take the bishop. Just like that, we're now ahead by a piece. h6. Now we're seeing some aggression. I mean, I just need to move my bishop, to be honest. Bishop h8, bishop f6, doesn't matter. I'm choosing h8 so that way, if I really need a square for my knight, then I can put my knight on the f6 square. Rook is now on the 7th. Now he is really turning up his aggression, but he did leave this pawn unprotected. So let's just take. The bishop covers the queening square, but I'm expecting him to. Okay, that I wasn't expecting. What I'm going to do here is just put my knight on f6. I'm noticing that the bishop and the queen is in a knight fork pattern. And by the way, guys, there's a bunch of different knight fork patterns. So once I get my knight on h5, then that's going to help me to trade even more pieces off the board. May seem as if I'm defending now, which I'm kind of am defending, but it's not like there's any real attack. Like, I don't even need to be careful here. Like, what's the worst that could happen? It's the queen. Okay, okay. Maybe he wants another rook on the 7th. Who knows? I'm going to go queen f5, by the way, guys, because now my queen is not only protecting my pawn, it's actually attacking his bishop. And remember when I told you guys that his queen and his bishop is in a knight fork pattern. So if he gets greedy and be like, oh, that's a free pawn, or try to swing pieces in the game, knight h5 wins more material. Oof, rook e5. You know what's funny about this? I think I have a tactic alert here. First of all, the bishop covers the queening square, but we don't want to sack. Queen g4 would be a very good move because it allows us to trade. But what if I still go for the fork? Like, If I attack the queen and he puts his queen anywhere, then I play queen takes bishop. If he takes my queen, I take his queen. I'm attacking his rook. So if he takes my knight, I take his rook. Okay, I mean, he's able to save the. Oh, no, he's not able to put the rook here because the bishop covers the square. Oh, knight h5. Crazy tactic alert. Especially since my pawn is one square away from queening, he needs to be extremely careful because I could just be getting back my queen in the next few moves. So he took, I take, his rook is under attack. He's not able to play bishop takes, by the way, because that's a queen. And if he plays pawn takes, I take the rook. His rook is also trapped. This is game. Okay. I mean, the rook is trapped. That's a rook, buddy. That's just a rook. There's also check and takes, but I mean, thanks, I guess. He resigns. But more pure defense against 1400 level players. Stick around. Opponent is now 1400. We're playing some more pure defense. It's a very easy setup from here. I'm going to go with knight f6, g6, bishop g7, and castle. All right, knight f3, we hit the pawn. I'm expecting knight c3 here. Now we simply get our PIRC defense setup out the way. We're not expecting any e5, but if they play e5, we take. We don't want to take if after the queen trade, a rook is going to take though. So here I'm just going to castle. From here, I'm usually seeing some queen d2 with the idea of playing bishop h6. At that point, though, I just play rook e8 and then try to play e5. Tactics alert. I mean, this is just regular stuff a pure defense player. And if you play the pure and you don't know this, then do you play the pure? You know, it's like it's a pattern that pure defense players need to know. You take on e4, the knight takes on e4, you play d5, and then you fork. Does it mean black is winning? No, but black already just equalize the position. And being black, equalizing the position is basically a win for us. All right, so now we take, bishop takes, and I personally like to play c6. Like anytime a queen or a bishop is pointing towards this diagonal, I just play c6. And then from here, I finish my development normally. So for example, pawn c3, another thing we know is the light squared bishop is the bad bishop in the PIRC. So we put the bishop on g4. Anytime they play h3, we take. And then it makes it easier for us to just develop, play e5, and from here, it's just chess. So he took with the bishop. Let's take out our last minor piece. And then after the queen goes here, he's attacking my pawn. I'll just go queen c7 and guard it. And I like to tell you guys that these are usually the main squares that your queen goes on once you're a pure defense player. Now I'm thinking about pawn breaks on e5 or pawn breaks on c5. But the typical pure defense idea is to play e5. If they take, knight take comes in, hit the bishop, swing the rooks in the game, and then it's just a normal position. Okay, d5 I wasn't expecting. If I takes, he's able to take with a lot of different pieces. And I'm assuming he's just trying to take, which is fine. I'll just go rook to e8. Because if he takes and I take back, I'll be able to play rook to b8 and put my other rook on the file. Now, white definitely has the bishop here, which means it's in his best interest to try to open the position. Okay, I'm not sure why he pulls the bishop back. I have no clue. All right, this rook isn't really doing much. Rook to d8. We need all our pieces to be active. Rooks needs files. I'm also expecting him to swing one of his rook in the game. Oh, that's what he wants. He wants to take on c6 and then take on f7. Not bad. Okay, what I'm going to do here is just play knight b6. For one, the queen guards f7, but then the knight also targets the bishop and d5, which means he basically has to give up his bishop for the knight. The thing is, though, it's now going to be opposite colored bishop. So I'm going to have to lock in to try to win this game because opposite colored bishops usually end in a draw, but that's assuming the game goes to the end game. Will this game go to the end game? Let's see. So rook comes over to defend the pawn. I'm going to hit him with b5, chase away the bishop. Pawn to d6 is alright. I'm just not going to take though. That's the thing. He wants me to take and then after the trade take on f7, but I'm not going to do that. So he moves the bishop out of the way. All right, how do I make progress here? Let's go e4. So that way my dark squared bishop gets the diagonal. In some cases, I also want to play e3 to allow my rook to be active as well. Okay, queen moves. Not really sure why though. That's an idea, but it doesn't really work well for me if g3 is just an easy defense. Pawn e3 I like. Let's go with e3. Nah, let's not play e3. That's it's not a pawn because then I'm gonna lose this pawn. Actually, I think I have to go with e3. It's the most aggressive move that I'm seeing. Like after the trade, his bishop is gonna be under attack. Like once I'm the one who's attacking, it's good. And I'm also trying to create dark square weaknesses because I'm the one with the dark squared bishop. All right, so he took. Let's just take back, hit the bishop. Bishop f3 maybe. Okay, d6. Wasn't expecting that. That cannot be good at all. Because now there's more than one threat in the position if I play queen b6. I put my queen on the same line as his king. That's why I was happy about this e3 move. So no, even if he saves the bishop, I get discovered attacks. So I think it's best if he just move his king and just give me the bishop. Just like that, he's lost. This is crazy. So I mean, this is tactics alert, guys. I should have said tactic alert before, but this is just losing in all scenarios. First of all, because my queen is on the same line as his king, I could take the bishop, and that's a free bishop. But I can put my rook anywhere. Like literally, if I put my rook anywhere, it comes with check. So I'm actually gonna put my rook on e4 because my queen checks the king. Oh, that's a possibility. But this doesn't make it better for him because now my bishop takes the rook. Bear in mind that he should have lost his queen. But I just took a rook. Now I take with my rook attacking his queen, and guess what? I still have the same tactics. He resigns. More PIRC defense against 1500 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1500. We're playing some more PIRC defense. So d4 we hit the pawn. Knight c3. Let's just get our f4 guys. When you see f4, then this is called the Austrian attack. It's gonna be a bit aggressive because the pawns are gonna start rolling up the board. But let's get the king out the center of the board first. And then notice how he immediately pushed with e5. Now, usually I don't take. I usually just move the knight out the way and then start applying as much pressure as possible to their center. Because if I'm able to break down the pawn center, then the attack is not going to work and their king could actually be super weak. So he's developing. I'll go c5. Again, I'm just trying to break down his center here. Ooh, e6. Nice move. All right, there's a little idea that I want to teach you guys here. Whenever you see e6, for one, you could take, but after king over and knight g5, it's going to be hard. Move your knight out the way and allow them to take on f7 because eventually you're going to be able to win that pawn. Like it may look like a free pawn, no, but after you move the king, the bishop is going to be under attack. And the moment, and not the exact moment, but eventually we're going to be able to take on f7. So let's see what he's going to do with his bishop here. All right, so the bishop goes back. You don't have to rush taking this as yet. I mean, that's a more central pawn. So let's take that one. Yo, what did this guy see? He's basically sacking the knight. If I take the knight, maybe he's going to sack the bishop, but if he wants to give me some free material, that's on him. Why did he sacrifice an entire... Or did he not see my bishop or something? 1500? Okay, he just pulled his knight back to e2. I'm ahead by so many material, bro. I want to trade, but let's just pull this back. If he allows the pin, then that would be nice. Again, the pawn is dead. There's no way for him to defend it, and I'm not in a rush to take it. Ooh, h4. Aggressive. All right, let's go bishop to g4. If h5, I'll just take. All right, so he still decided to play h4. And I understand, like, if he's already down by so many material, might as well he sacrifice even more. But let's just take. If he's gonna sack the rook, then what piece is he gonna have in the attack? Yeah, he's sacrificing everything. All right, guys, we need to be a bit careful here. I think he's gonna try to get the queen on this square and then try to checkmate on h7. Knight d7 I like because the plan is to play knight f6, hits the queen, defend against the checkmate. Still, we're not taking this pawn, but eventually we're going to have to get rid of that pawn. We don't want it to be a liability. Okay, so what he did, he puts the knight here, like he wants to take. But if I put the knight here, he's trying to take, and in some cases, the knight could go there. So now we have to be a bit careful. All right, what if I play e5? Queen takes, knight f6 takes, and I lose the game. What if I just attack the knight? If I attack the knight goes here. So maybe I should just take, allow queen takes. The good thing is I can always sacrifice back material. Okay, knight c5 cannot be a bad move. Knight c5 takes, queen takes, threatens mate, h6. Okay, this is actually tricky, guys. This is a bit tricky. All right, let's just play rook takes. Let's get rid of this pawn. I want to be able to at least put my knight on f8. Remember the famous saying, there's no mate with a knight on f8. So for example, if I play queen g8 and then knight f8, the most you could get out of this is a smothered mate, which is which is very possible. Now he's threatening my rook. All right, so if I go here, there's knight here. What if I go here? Queen takes, shoot. Why is this looking like this? All right, so queen here, knight here, rook f6. If the bishop takes, there's rook h6, and if the knight takes, there's rook h6. I think that's the best I can get from this. So queen here, defend against any checkmating ideas. I'm expecting knight going to g5, and then we go rook f6. The idea of rook f6 is to play rook h6. And once the rook goes to h6, we should be fine. Wait, it's still tricky because there's knight f7. Rook here, bishop takes, hit the queen. Hit back the queen, there's knight check. But then I take the bishop. And if he takes my rook, I take. f5 hits the bishop, but something like queen g6 and we're defending. All right, guys. In order for you guys to spot these types of defensive moves, I don't know what to tell you guys, but your prophylactic thinking just has to be insane. I'm basically calculating both knight takes and bishop takes. Obviously, he's not going to trade the queens. But once I'm able to get a rook on h6, I chase away the queen, I protect h7. I can also check him on h1. And maybe a knight is going to be able to come to f6. But in positions like these, where you're ahead by 5 points, do not be afraid to give back some material in order to simplify the game. 5, nice move. Okay, actually, is it though? Because I think he's expecting rook h6, so that way he's able to play knight f7. But now I'm not worried about this bishop anymore. So that's like really good news for me. So if rook h6, he's gonna check me here. Okay, he's obviously not trying to trade. Hit the queen. Queen is probably just gonna move. I like my position now, because this could also be hanging. I don't have to hit the queen because the queen is just gonna move. So I'm just gonna hit the bishop now. Everything is guarding this. Like the defense that I have here is impenetrable, if that's the word. I'm trying to say the word properly. He also has not enough time on the clock. Bishop back to f3. I could trade, but the bishop is not really an issue right now. All right, so the bishop goes back. Okay, let's swing some more pieces in the game. Let's just swing some more pieces in the game. Knight e6, I mean, worst case scenario, if I get scared, I'll just sack. I'm attacking this. He has 30 seconds on the clock. c3. Hmm. Now we could get rid of that bishop. Wait. The bishop goes to f3. Tactic alert. Okay, is it a tactic alert? I think it is, but rook h6 technically traps the queen. The reason why I'm using the word technical is because now he has to play knight f7 check, and I'll just play queen takes or knight takes. Don't think it matters what I take with. He's losing more material. Okay, so queen takes. He takes the rook. Nah, maybe just knight takes. So that way, once he takes the rook, I'm able to take back. And we basically just lost a rook. We gained 2 pieces for the rook. Now we're ahead by 6 points. And he has 5 seconds on the clock. With that being said, we're going to be playing more PIRC defense against 1600 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1600. We are playing some more PIRC defense. Now, after d4, we go knight to f6. We know the drill. We're going to go g6, bishop g7, and castle on the next move. And the only thing that they could do to attack us before we try to finish our development is to put the bishop on either f4 or g5 and then try to play e5. If they play like this, we don't want to trade if the rook guards the queen. It's fine to trade if the knight or the king guards the queen, but not the rook, because then we're helping him to swing his rook in the game. Okay, bishop d3, we develop normally. That doesn't cause any problems. Knight f3, we castle. And then we're going to go bishop to g4. And by the way, guys, we could have actually played bishop to g4 before castling. And, we talk about this a lot. I'm sure this is probably not the first PIRC defense video that you watch, where we put the bishop on g4, wait until they play h3 to take. Once they take with the queen or a bishop, we just ensure that b7 is guarded. So in these types of scenarios, I like to play c6, so that way, if they play e5, we take, we do not lose any material. And since he's just developing normally, now we play e5, we play knight e7, and this is basically the PIRC position that we want to achieve. From here, it's just a matter of finishing our development. The rook is already on the same line as the queen. And remember what I told you guys? The queen goes to any one of these squares, being a PIRC defense player. So based on what is happening now, I'm going to choose to put the queen on this square, because on this square, there's no bishop c5, there's no knight d5, especially once they go for the pin, there's no knight d5. So yes, he's pinning my knight. Let's just go knight d7 here. I'm supporting the knight. From here, I can swing my rooks in the game, and I don't really have any real weaknesses that white is able to attack. So pulling the bishop back doesn't do much. Sack, take is the plan, since there's some pin happening here. So I can either put my rook on the file or just play knight c5. They're both good moves. Knight e6, hit the bishop is an idea. This guy, why is this guy playing for tricks? It's crazy. Like, you're 1600. Like, he literally puts his queen on g4 because he knows if I take the queen, he's going to take my queen. And then this is going to happen. Like, that's legit just hope chess. No, I'm just going to pull the knight back to e6, not take the queen, obviously, hit the bishop, and then now he has to give up his bishop for the knight. And okay, he gave up the bishop for the knight. Don't want to take with the queen and allow his rook access to my 7th rank. So let's just take with the bishop. And now it's a bit easier for my knight to get access to d4. He's also playing very fast. Queen moves. Suspicious. First of all, he's playing mad fast. This has to be a nice move. Hits the queen, applies pressure to the bishop. And based on where he puts the queen, I'm thinking about just attacking the queen again. For example, he puts the queen on the d file. We put the rook on the same line as the queen. There's not any dangerous discovered attacks that I have though, but it's definitely going to scare him with my rook on the same line as his queen. But he still has to be careful because the queen is the main defender of c2. So moving the queen is not an option. So he just has to calculate and then be like, hey, there's no discovered attacks. So he plays f4. Fair enough. If I check, he's going to take with the queen. If I takes, there's rook takes. Bishop e5 hits the rook, and this is just a nice position. There's also some ideas of getting my queen on this, the queen and the bishop battery on this diagonal. So f4 is a very weird move to play. f4 does not do anything good for white. Like, okay, it gets the rook in the game, but that's not really ideal for him. I'm also thinking about queen c5 since it puts my queen on the same line as the king, but at that point, he's just going to move the king out of the way. So rook takes, queen e5, rook here. Okay, let's go bishop e5. My goal is to get my queen and my bishop forming a battery pointing towards h2. So once he moves the rook, wait. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Guys, this was a tactic. I had a discovered attack. I just forgot about the discovered attack. That's so embarrassing. But it's fine though. Like, I was just too fixated on this plan. But that would have been a nice little tactic, guys, and it would have concluded the game. But oh, that cannot be good. That definitely cannot be good because he moves the queen off the same line as my king. Wait. But now, if I play bishop to b6, I put my bishop on the same line as his queen and his king. So this is the move that I'm contemplating. But once I check him here, the queen can't take. So this wins the game. I think it's best if he just moves the king though. You know what? Maybe I should have played queen e5 first. Let him push one of the pawn on the side that his king is on, then go bishop b6. But everything is hanging. c2 is hanging. He's at risk of losing his queen. He needs to move his king out the way. Yeah, he moves his king out the way. And I mean, all I'm getting from this is a pawn. I could have gotten the exchange if I wasn't so fixated on my plan. There's some knight e3 ideas, but obviously he's going to trade the rooks first, which is fine because that's going to help my other rook to join the game. So he decided to trade the rooks immediately. Let's just swing the rook on the file. Queen still has to move. And after he moves his queen out the way, we're ahead by a pawn, which means we could start trading. So let's go knight d4, hit the queen, hit the bishop. Now we're just gonna convert this. Okay, I mean, the fact that he's trading the queens is just making my life easier. Like, maybe he's like, yo, I'm down by a pawn, but it's only a pawn. I'm still gonna trade, like I have a big chance of drawing. But for one, it's not only a pawn, especially if I'm able to get my rook on his second. So this is just bad for him. Knight now has to go somewhere, and all his pawns are gonna be lost. So he moves the knight. Okay, first I'm gonna grab this pawn. Like the rook and the knight is on the same line. He went for a little forking idea. I can always hit the rook. I can always check king up check, but then he's gonna move. But I'm just gonna take the free pawn. Like I'm just ahead by too many points. Now I'm ahead by 3 pawns. I really just cannot lose this. This is now just a matter of pushing past pawns. So let's just push the past pawns. Oh, what am I doing, bro? I need to lock in, man. That's a pawn. The game is just gonna get way harder for no reason. Because if I go here, he goes here. Okay, guys, I need to lock in actually. It's fine. Like it's still winning, but it's gonna be a bit more difficult. Because usually the winning side don't want to be trading the pawns, and that's what I'm doing. Still ahead by 2 pawns, but now I need very, very good technique to win this game, which I think I'm already doing fine. Because I'm already cutting off his king. So now it's just a matter of getting my king as active as possible. So let's just activate the king first and foremost. Keep the king active, and if he hits the rook, I just guard it. Very good. Anytime he attacks these pawns around the back, I can always push. Let's go here. Maybe I want to check and then push. Again, I made the game harder for me, but it should still be winning. Okay, we have to take back. Now we have 2 passed pawns. Now we check him here. That's another pawn. Well, not really, because if I take this pawn, he's going to take this one. So might as well I just roll this past pawn. I don't care if he takes this, by the way, guys, because yeah, he loses the game very easily once I trade the rooks off the board. Yeah, this is now just easily winning. But let's just calculate. If I check him here, he goes here. If I check him here, the king takes, and then I take the rook. The king moves out the way. I push this pawn. The king grabs. Oh, it's actually tricky because I have a rook pawn. It's actually tricky, guys. Let's calculate again. Here takes, here king over. Okay, while he's running towards my pawn, I'm just going to run to this pawn. He runs to the pawn, I run to this pawn. He takes the pawn, I take. And then once I'm able to get my king on the key square, then it's just winning. So this is now just winning. This is fox in the chicken coop, by the way, guys. But I just do not need to waste any time. He resigns. More PIRC defense against 1,700 players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1,700. We play the PIRC defense. All right, we're seeing knight f3. Let's go knight f6, hit the pawn. You can always play bishop g4 as early as possible if you want. But remember that bishop to g4, it's not something that has to happen, being a pure defense player. I'm more interested in getting this set up and get the king out the center of the board. And then usually here I'll decide, okay, bishop g4 is a move. But based on how my opponent is playing, we're already seeing this battery pointing towards my h6 square. Now, there's different ways in which we could go about this. One of the ways, just move the rook to e8, so that way once the bishop goes to h6, we pull the bishop back. Another move that we can consider here is knight g4. The thing is, once I play knight g4, there's bishop to f4. And then if e5 takes, okay, that can definitely be a move, but I'm going to choose rook to e8 here. Pawn to e5, we always want to ensure that we're on the lookout for pawn to e5. But again, if he plays pawn e5, knight g4, once we see this h4 move, then, we're going to get some very aggressive chess because they want to play h5 here. So now I'm going to hit him with knight g4. And the reason why I'm going to play knight g4 now is before, if he had played bishop to f4, I wouldn't have had any extra move because he would have played h3 to chase away my knight. Now, if he puts the bishop on f4, I can always go knight d7 followed by e5. And what I'm about to say is very important. If you're able to eliminate the opponent's dark squared bishop, then you don't have to worry about any attack that they're going to do on your king side, because one of the best way to attack the PIRC defense is to first exchange the dark squared bishop, which is why he did that battery. Like, even this rook being on the file is not going to be as dangerous as it seems. But let's just continue with our regular PIRC defense plan. Let's play e5 here. After the trades, I'm expecting rook to d8, which can always just play knight d7. But now we're seeing d5. Whenever they play d5, then it starts reminding us about some King's Indian type of setup. We can always play c6 here, by the way, followed by just taking on d5. We can always go knight d7 followed by knight c5. There's always going to be bishop g4 ideas. In fact, now we're going to go with bishop g4. And I'm already attacking the pawn twice. So now is the time that we're going to be expecting him to take. And yes, we're going to be taking towards the center. Please do not be afraid of this open file. I mean, if we did not have the dark squared bishop, then things would have gotten crazy. But with the dark squared bishop here, even if he finds a way to teleport the queen on the h file and then teleport the queen on the h7 square, we're just going to play king f8. And then he's just going to have nothing. So queen moves out the way, and not sure why. Guess he wants to go here. One annoying thing that he could do is move his knight and then play f3. So but it's fine if I go knight d7 now, because even if he moves his knight, my plan is going to be eventually to pull the bishop back to d7. Can't pull the bishop back to d7 since the knight is there, which is why this knight c5 idea is going to come into play. And I'm going to assume that he's going to try to castle on the queen side, which is what he just did. And that's how we're going to be starting our attack. So now that the knight is pinned, we don't have to worry about him moving the knight. Let's hit the queen. And from here, I would love an attack, especially that I have this bishop pointing towards here. It's not really doing anything. But if I manage to play a very good f5 move, and then if he decides to take, then my bishop becomes a monster. Now, I'm thinking about playing c6, but then because my queen is on the same line as his rook, maybe a bit tricky. But let's see what he's going to choose here. Now the queen goes to c4. And what I'm thinking about in this position is, how do I get a pawn on b5? I'm also thinking about, what if I'm able to sacrifice the b pawn so that way the rook gets the file? It's kind of risky though, to be honest, since my dark squared bishop is not guaranteed the diagonal. If my dark squared bishop is guaranteed the diagonal, then I would do it. But let's play a bit slowly. Let's go with a6 followed by b5, maybe b4 hit the knight. f5 is definitely the pawn break. That is going to eventually happen though, guys. Because remember, all the minor pieces are out. And if all the minor pieces are out, we know what the drill is. Get major pieces in the game. We get major pieces in the game by using pawn breaks. So we're thinking f5, we're thinking c6. The reason why I'm slightly hesitant about playing f5 is because I only have 2 pawns defending my king. But I already explained to you guys that once you have a fianchetted bishop defending your king, the attack is not impossible, but it's almost impossible. And one of the ways in which they could really attack your king is by eliminating your fianchetted bishop. Okay, queen goes all the way back to e2, just walking himself into a pin. I'm assuming he just expects b5 to come. We're still going to play b5 because if I hit him with b4, the knight can't even go here. So maybe he has to pull his knight back. What we're trying to do now, guys, is we're trying to do a pawn storm. Rook is also on the same line as the king here, as the rook here. And okay, maybe now is the time to play f5, especially since he plays g3. Think he wants to fianchet to the bishop. Maybe he wants the bishop here. If I hit him with f5 and then he puts the bishop here, I think he's fine. But if I hit him with f5, bishop here, takes, rook takes, there's b4. And then the knight has to move. Once the knight moves, that's going to be a free pawn. Or I could go queen to d7 because I really like my bishop here, guys. I actually like the bishop. So you PIRC defense players would probably already trade the bishop, but I like the bishop. So I'm going to play this move, queen to d7. And in theory, it's a principled move because I'm connecting my rooks and we're currently on move 16. And remember we said only rooks and kings should be on the background by move 15. So we're already one move over time. But I would love to play f5. And then the moment he plays f5, we play e4. That would be the craziest tactic alert because all our pieces are just on the same line as his queen. Okay, so bishop went to g2. And I'm thinking about playing this move b4. b4 is nice because once the knight goes back, there's queen here. And the moment I put the queen here, there's no defending this pawn. Let's not get too greedy though. I like f5. f5 has to be the move. Remember not to push pawns on the side that your king is on, guys. But if you're a King's Indian defense player, then this f5 move is going to come into play, especially when the center is closed. So whenever you play e5 and then they play d5, just so that I can get into some specific detail, then you can play f5. Okay, I forgot that his plan was to play bishop h3, but what am I going to say here, guys? I'm going to say tactic alert. Find the tactic. I want you guys to find the tactic and explain the tactic exactly how I would explain the tactic. And that's how you know that you're playing some chess. Actually, are there any tactic? I don't think there's any tactic. What I saw what I saw was I take, rook takes. My rook is on the same line as the queen. So then I'm going to be able to play pawn takes, which hits the knight, and then the rook is going to be under attack. I guess it works. It's kind of complicated, guys. Ensure that you already calculated something. Because I said tactical alert me, I'm assuming you guys calculated something. But what I'm assuming you guys did not see, because I didn't see this, is the moment I take, there's knight to g5. But let's not finish the calculation there. What if I play bishop f6, hit the knight, which is the main defender of the rook? The knight is already unprotected. So after swinging over the rook, I take with check. And then after the king move, I go back and I'm doing fine once I'm protecting h8 and h7. And if I, okay, also there's knight back to g1. There is knight back to g1. So maybe I should just play, let's just play b4 first, chase away this knight, and then we can take here because it's not guaranteed that we're going to be winning material here. Because once he moves the knight and I take, he can always pull the knight back to g1. Is it a tactic alert? I mean, we want a pawn. If you guys want to consider a pawn a tactic, then, we'll take it. But now we take, if he puts the knight on the g5 square, then it becomes tactics because the knight is unprotected. The knight is the main defender of the rook. But if he pulls the knight back to ooh, that can't be good, bro. And this is exactly what I was explaining to you guys. There will be nothing if we have the fianchetted bishop. So let's just eliminate the knight. That's a free knight. Obviously, we don't care if the rook goes to h7. And once the queen takes, we can also start looking into some queen trades here. So yeah, that what he just did was not necessary. The only way this is going to work is if he triples up on the file and then check. So that way, once the bishop takes, the queen comes in, but there's no queen coming in. And since I'm ahead by so many points, we're obviously going to start going for some queen trades here. Check doesn't work. A rook going on h7, we do not care. And this is why I told you guys that I don't care about the fact that there's two rooks on my h file once I have this dark squared bishop. So even though the dark squared bishop was not really active on this diagonal per se, it's doing a very, very good defensive role. Okay, he's not going to trade queens because he's down in material. This knight does not have all the best squares. Now I hit him with e4, which means I'm activating my bishop. My queen is now attacking this unprotected pawn. This rook isn't really doing much, but I don't think it's time to bring this rook in the game. I'm expecting knight d2 because he needs his pieces in the game. Okay, so knight come in. If I push he takes, I do not have much. So I'm just going to grab this pawn. It is a free pawn. I'm also attacking this pawn. My bishop is active. So from here, we're already ahead by 4 points. So it's just a matter of conversion here, guys. Conversion in chess is not something that is easy. So the easiest way to convert when you're ahead in material, just trade pieces off the board. Now we're seeing more attackers on this pawn. But it looks like he just forgot about this pawn. Or maybe I should just play queen d4. Because targeting this focal point is nice. I think I'm just doing fine either way. Like if I take here, knight takes here, the knight can't take because this check just seems very dangerous. Like it could win even a rook. So I takes, there's no knight take because once I takes and he plays rook takes, I know. Because if after takes, queen takes, I check there's king up, and then the queen guards his rook and attack my rook. So let's be a bit careful. Instead, I'm going to play queen d4. The threat is better than the execution. Now we have two pieces targeting his focal point on b2. Knight c4 does not work because the knight becomes the main defender, and I'll simply play d5 to chase away that knight. Okay, that's also an option. I mean, trading the queens off the board, but this is what we wanted anyways, right? We're ahead by so many points. We wanted the queens off the board. Now I'm going to play d5 to chase away this knight. Again, from here, it's just conversion. Do we see a trade? Any trade that we see, we're going to take it. Even if it's a scenario where it's bishops versus knights, where I'm going to give up my bishop for the knight, we're going to take it because we're ahead by so many points. I'm just kicking the knight now because my goal is just to create this pass pawn. If he takes, I take. We roll the pass pawn up the board. Anything that I do here is winning. This rook is also not doing much. Let's push. Again, he's able to play here and win the pawn. But because we're ahead in material, this is just me trying to trade pieces off the board. Even though I could have played rook e4, attack the knight. Oof. Oof. Tactic alert. Is this a tactic? Not necessarily because there's knight block. My idea was to check on h6. And if the king moves out the way, then I take. And then after the rook takes, that's mate. But then he's able to block with the knight. Thing is, though, once he blocks with the knight, we're able to convert the game. Like, we're not just going to trade everything off the board. Like, I'm going to actually take with the rook, not the bishop, take with the rook, because now the rook is pinned, and I'm able to apply pressure to that pinned rook, which is going to force him to play king to d2. But then again, we take with the rook, not the bishop, because then once his rook takes, his rook is going to be pinned. And remember, guys, anytime you're pinning someone's rook, you don't have to take it until they try to get out of the pin. But here we have a tactic because pin pieces don't protect. So we check him here. Rook cannot take. So we're basically forking here. Once the king moves, we take the rook, and then we take the pawn. And this is now just completely winning. We're just going to move the knight out the way and then start rolling the pass pawns off the board. Like, I don't care that his king is going to take all of those pawns. Once we have a queen on the board, it's going to be leading to a checkmate. All right, I'm basically trying to force his king on the... Since he puts the king here, that's just a checkmate. More PIRC defense against 1800 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1800. We are playing some more PIRC defense. So pawn d4, we go knight to f6. Knight c3, we go g6. Regular setup. Now we're seeing bishop d3. Usually it's very aggressive when they go bishop f4 and try to play e5, but he's just developing his pieces very normally. Let's get the king castled. And then he plays queen d2. Queen is on d2, which means there's a very high chance that he wants his bishop on h6. Knight g4 I like to play. Usually when you play knight g4, they're going to move the bishop and then play h3. So knight g4, bishop f4, pawn e5, takes, pawn takes. Bishop g5 can also be a bit annoying. So let's just go with the rook e8 idea here. Like if they play h4, then I don't mind putting the knight on g4. So he castle. Now we play e5. We can always play knight c6 or knight d7. He's trading. Let's just stay back. And I mean, maybe he wants to trade the queens off the board. Who knows? But just always remember, if any time they allow us to use our knight to capture the dark squared bishop, there will be absolutely no attack. The reason why I put my rook on e8, and please remember this, guys, is it's usually good to meet a move like bishop h6 with bishop h8. And if you didn't play rook to e8, then the guy would have just captured your rook. And this makes it harder for them to attack because even though your king cannot move, it's just harder for them to bring more pieces in the game. The queen can't join the game unless the bishop moves out the way. So now he plays f4, which is not a bad move. I mean, he's trying to come with the attack, but now I'm going to hit him with knight g4 because now it attacks the bishop. Okay, he's always able to take, but if he takes, I can always take here first and then I take. We have to be aware of any discovered attacks, and it's also very important that we try to finish our development as quickly as possible. So we still have some stuff to do, but black looks like he's doing fine here. Bishop g5, very strong move. Also a bit annoying because I'm not able to play f6. Yeah, that's definitely annoying. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to maneuver my queen to the b6 square. There's two ways I'm thinking about this. Queen d6 to b6 or queen d4 to b6. Queen d4, that's just a free tempo though. Like, I would prefer for him to use this knight because after queen b6, then it's easier for me to chase away his knight. So, okay, now there's also h3. But if he plays h3, I'll just pull back. It's fine. So now we just pull back. Bishop h6 still doesn't do much. I have some attacks on f4. Or maybe he's going to take because if I take with the rook, there's bishop back. So takes, queen takes, knight f3 is actually nice. But then I'm going to just swing my queen over to a5. Yo, I mean, it wasn't like it's a blunder or anything. I just wasn't expecting him to give up the bishop for the knight that easily. And then he plays f5. None of this is gonna matter because I have the dark squared bishop. So maybe even g5 is coming in. None of it is gonna matter. I just need to develop now. Let's just develop. Knight c6, maybe put my knight on the d4 square. If he ever plays knight b5, I'll pull the queen back to e7, which will be threatening some pins since his queen and his rook is on the same line. So he took. Let's just take back. h4, h5 can be dangerous. It's even though I have the bishop, it doesn't mean that his attack is impossible, guys. Remember that. So whenever you use your knight to capture someone's bishop or they use their bishop to capture your knight, don't think the attack is possible. The attack is just harder for them. So knight comes in. Let's just pull the bishop back. We do not want to give up that bishop. And if he goes for h4, h5 type of plans, I'll always have bishop g4. Okay, so knight moves. Let's finish our development. Bishop e6. Now I'm just trying to take. We have two pieces attacking the knight. He only has one defender. Okay, I see his plan. I see his plan. What is happening here is if I just get greedy and grab the pawn, my queen is going to be on the same line as his rook, and that could cost me some material. For example, bishop takes g6, discovered attack. I mean, at that point, I'm able to play queen takes a2 though. So, I mean, it is risky. It is a bit risky, but his king is also not gonna be safe. So let's calculate it. This is me taking a risk. It's also just this is calculation, where I know that my queen is gonna be on the same line as the rook, but I'm just going further in my calculation. The average person is gonna be like, it doesn't work. There's bishop g6. Stronger players, yes, there's bishop g6, but do I have anything after that? Queen takes a2. The bishop is under attack. If he sack, I take. There's no knight checks. Any queen check, I'll just go back. Knight coming into g5 means he wants to check me here. At that point, I can always check king up and then check. But if this is not leading to a checkmate, his queen h7, rook f1 will lead to checkmate. So it's a bit too risky for my liking. There's also knight b5, knight takes, queen takes, and then I think that puts me in an aggressive position. There's also takes, knight d4. We don't necessarily have to take the pawn. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I can do. There's also takes, pawn e4. And I think he wants to play knight f6 check. So let's just eliminate that knight. I'm just going to eliminate the knight off the bat. What I'm not going to do though is play queen takes, because that's just a bit too risky. I'm just going to play knight here and hit the bishop. Let's just hit the bishop, hit the pawn. The pawn is unprotected. If king b1, notice how his bishop and his knight is in a pawn fork pattern. So that's going to win material. But bishop c4 seems to save the bishop, get the bishop out of the pawn fork pattern, and also defend his pawn. There's always e4, hit the knight. If I'm able to safely get a bishop on this diagonal, that's nice. There's b5, bishop takes, check, king over, queen hits the bishop, check him here. That doesn't seem like it works. I think a3 is coming next regardless, and I don't want to get my knight trapped. You know what? Let's just keep up the attack. Let's go queen c5, hit the unprotected bishop. Worst case scenario, I want to be able to pull my knight back, and pulling my queen on c5, I also want to play b5. I'm expecting him to just pull the bishop back to b3 though. And now we play a5. And if he plays a3, a4, he takes a tap my queen, and then I resign. So we're not going to do that. Now we play e4 because we attack the knight. There's no good forward moves for the knight anymore. So now he may have to pull his knight back, and that's what we want to see. We want to see them pulling their pieces back. Notice what happens when we play e4, by the way. Our bishop is now pointing towards his focal point. So, like my chances here. Puts his knight on the edge of the board, and this is where we say tactic alert, guys. It's not anything huge. It's not anything huge, but the queen is on the same line as the king. And because the queen is on the same line as the king, we're able to hit him with knight d3 check, because pin pieces does not protect. Remember, guys, train your pattern recognition, train your calculation, train your visualization, get good at tactic, get good at chess. If you're trying to improve your chess, send the word book to this email and you'll be able to pick up a copy of my book. Now, I have two options here. Go for the fork, very materialistic, very greedy, or go for the king. I'm going to go for the king, because once I take here, his rook is still under attack. And my idea is, again, here's my pattern recognition working, guys. Right now, the target is on his b2 focal point. If I'm able to get a queen on the b2 square, then that's going to be a checkmate. So that's the type of stuff that I'm going to be going for here. He sacrificed his knight, which I really don't have to take the knight. If I take the knight, there's some pawn d6 ideas to attack my king. Like, that's just way too much drama. So what I want to do is I want to see how I'm going to set up my checkmate. Like, if I don't take the knight, it's not like on his next move he has some very fancy, strong forcing move. So we're just going to grab the rook here. Grab the rook. He takes, we threaten mate. King runs, we check. King runs, we check. King is just running though. What if I just play immediate queen c3? Threat is better than the execution. That's what we're going with. Queen c3, if he check me here, we definitely sack the rook. And then after the queen takes, we take here because we're threatening mate. Then he's going to be forced to move his king. And then at that point, checking him here is very strong. Remember, guys, the threat is better than the execution. Now I'm attacking his rook and there's checkmating possibilities. Okay, knight went back to f4. Knight went back to f4. Knight to h5 is the idea. Now, my next move is kind of crazy. If I take the rook, I'm threatening mate. I'm assuming he's going to just run away with the king. But what if I put the knight on e3? So I put the knight on e3, the king cannot run. Okay, maybe he's going to sack his queen. I mean, it's a queen. If I'm getting a queen, I'm chill. This is game, guys. Yeah, how strong is this move? This is why I tell you guys that the threat is better than the execution. We still do not take the rook because we do not want the king to run. Now I'm threatening mate here, and I'm threatening mate here. He did sack the queen. That's what we were expecting. And then I'm expecting him to take on e3. But now we have the queen. And, since we have the queen, it shouldn't be too hard for us to convert this game. All right, let's play h5 here. I want to hit the bishop. I still want to get the pawn on a3 because I'm still trying to checkmate him on b2. Okay, rook is under attack. Our king is up. Our queen, let's hit the knight. No checks. Gonna hit the bishop on the next move. Okay, let's hit the bishop. I don't know how I have 50 seconds on the clock, guys, but it should be more than enough time to win this game. Let's hit the bishop again. The bishop is trapped. And yes, I'm allowing him to take on b5 because I know that once I play rook to b8, the bishop is going to be pinned. Remember, guys, pieces on the same line. Very important tactical idea. Now we pin the bishop. He's running with the king. And based on the speed that he's playing by, I can tell he's just trying to flag here. Okay, let's just take here. I don't want his king to be able to run. Knight takes kind of annoying. Let's pin the knight. Checking him here is an idea. Okay, let's grab this. Applying pressure to the knight. Rook here I'm expecting. Check him here. Knight is pinned. Knight is not able to take. Remember, pin pieces still don't protect. How does this work now? Let's grab this. Now we're threatening some ideas around here. We have to be fast, guys, but there's no way I'm not going to finish off this game with the amount of time on the clock. Now we bring the last piece in the game, and then checkmate here is coming. Yo, he's being so resilient. Let's go here, because he's trying to run with the king. But now I'm hitting the knight, and if he moves the knight, okay, how does this work? Check him here. He blocks. Oh, we got him now. Blocks, I check him here. After king up, the king is the main defender of the rook, so I sack. After king takes, we grab the rook. Now we check and pick up the rook, and that's gonna be mate. Yeah, he tried. He tried. Check. Check. 11 seconds. Come on. Maybe here. Is this mate? Checkmate. And that's just a checkmate. Our opponent is now 1900. We are blessing you guys with some more PIRC defense. Knight c3, let's just go knight f6. Normal, simple development. Pawn d3, I'm not used to since it blocks out this bishop, but let's just go for our regular PIRC defense plan. Pawn g6. Well, pawn g3, this is kind of like a new setup. Let's just castle. And I think it's a Grand Prix type of setup. But now I'm definitely gonna go with bishop to g4 and just get this bishop off the board and then just play with my regular PIRC defense setup. So whenever he plays h3, we just eliminate the knight. I'm expecting bishop takes, but he took with the queen. And this diagonal, I want you guys to ensure that you're on the lookout for this diagonal because the moment something goes here, this is going to be under attack. There's different ways to do it. You can play c6, or you could just go ahead and play e5 here if you can. Usually there's a pawn on d4, and now he plays bishop d2. I'm expecting a queenside castle here, guys, and I'm expecting him to start some attack on my king. And because his queen is on f3, I'm going to go ahead and play knight c6, even though most of the time the knight is on d7. I'm going to choose knight c6 because I want to play knight d4. And guess what? Once he moves the queen, I want to hit him with c5 here. I mean, a bishop on h6 would be nice, but that does not trap the queen. I think he wants to play f4, but the moment he play f4, if I take, my bishop becomes very, very active. So I'm going to play the move c5, and this is going to be a crazy game, guys. Like, I'm going to start some attack on his queen side, where his king is on. He's going to start some attack on my king side. So I don't want him, I think he's going to push regardless of what I do. I don't think pushing is good now, but I definitely don't want him to take because if he takes and I take back, my dark squared bishop is not too good. So I'm going to take, slightly risky, because once he takes with the pawn, then the g file is now open. But now I'm able to attack him. If I play b5 now, there's e5. I may lose my rook. Way too much drama. What if I just put my rook on the same line as his queen? Like, we don't have to rush, guys. Like, eventually the attack is going to come. Notice how his attack is also coming in as well. And he wants to play h5. I can always play h5 to prevent him from playing h5. But usually I don't want to push those pawns. I usually just let them push and then take. And then I try to defend after that. So if I push, he push, and then I hit the... Nah, my rook is going to be under attack. I push, he push, I move the rook out the way. And I'm assuming he's going to move his queen out the way. And then I'm going to take. Then he's going to take, my knight is going to be under attack, but his pawn is just going to be too weak. Let's go with b5. Notice how I'm consciously playing b5, even though I know that his bishop is on the same line as my rook. And this is because I know that my rook is on the same line as his queen. So this will not work. So he pulls the knight back, and this looks very suspicious, guys. Tactics alert? Is this a tactic? Tactic alert, guys. Yo, this is crazy. What am I seeing? I'm noticing that the queen is the main defender of the knight. If the queen is the main defender of the knight, whenever there's only one defender, then you automatically want to be thinking about removing the guard. It's like, okay, the queen is the main defender of the knight. Can I get rid of the queen? And in this position, we can definitely get rid of that queen. And maybe we're going to be winning more than just a piece here. Once I hit him with this knight g4 move, first of all, I'm attacking the guy's queen. Second of all, how is he going to save the queen? How is he going to move his queen away and guard the knight? This is called a removing the guard tactic, guys. These types of tactics, very, very important for you guys to know. Queen can't go here. If the queen goes here, that's a fork. If the queen goes here, I check and then fork. Oh my God, he's losing everything. He puts the queen here. I take this first because it's a check. And now he has to move the king. Okay, do I fork? Why wouldn't I fork? It's more material. I'm probably gonna lose both of these knights, to be honest. Because okay, actually not. If I take this knight and he takes this knight is trapped. So I'm gonna take this rook. If he takes this way, my knight escapes. But if he takes with the queen, I'm gonna try to escape with my knight this way. And maybe my knight is not gonna be trapped. But we're already ahead by like 5 points here, guys. It's crazy. Knight back to g3, and we're just ahead by an entire rook. How crazy is this? All right, queen moves out the way. Not on a square that I would love my knight on the edge of the board, but anything to not lose the knight here. So now he plays f5. I'm obviously not going to take because that loses the knight. This is now the time when we're just trying to simplify. Like, is there a way to trade the queens off the board? I'm just going to take more material. If he takes, I'm just going to take back. What I'm really trying to do, though, is just play queen g3. So he took. I'm going to choose to take with the f pawn. Trying to open the f file for my rook so that way I can get some attack this way as well. Bishop goes back to hit the queen, but the bishop no longer guards the diagonal. So the queen goes to f4 to hit his queen. Queen moves out the way. And okay, that threatens mate, but I'm assuming the bishop is just going to come back. So let's just play this b4 move. I mean, it's kind of like prophylaxis. You can definitely play prophylactic move even when you're attacking. It's not just something that is reserved for defensive play. So now he's applying pressure to my knight, which I don't really care, to be honest. Like, let's just swing the rook in the game. Because if he takes the knight and I take, I'm assuming he's going to play queen takes. But then it makes it easier for me to trade the queens off the board with queen e5. He hits the queen. We still pull the queen back to e5 because now we're threatening a checkmate on b2. So the bishop goes back. Still, we're not afraid of this. Opening the center of the board is an idea. Trying to trade the queens off the board is an idea, but let's put the rook on the file so that at least my knight could come in. Okay, he took. If I take with the queen, he's just not going to trade. I know that he's not going to trade, so let's not waste time and do that. He's going to put the queen here. Now his rook is on the file, which means my bishop is pinned. We need to be slightly careful here. Just to be safe, what happens if I just move my king out the way? Like, whenever the opponent puts their pieces on the same line as your strong pieces, we don't want any of that drama. So we're just going to move out the way. All right, I'm trying to see if I can set up some checkmates. Like, what are the chances I'm able to sack a rook here, get my queen here, queen back to f6? Okay, let's see. Still trying to trade the queens off the board. So he took. This is on the same line. So I might actually have to move out the way this way. But then he's able to put the rook here. He's being very resilient, by the way. Very, very resilient. But there shouldn't be nothing here. Now I go here, hit the queen. Here, hit the queen. Queen now has to move. Still trying to get my pieces on his back rank, which he's defending against. He's also trying some discovered attacking ideas. Okay, we have to be a bit careful here, guys. Now I'm going to get my queen off the same line as his bishop. And now I'm threatening to play queen f1 because now there's no more attack on h7. So he puts the rook back. He just puts the rook back. Okay, fair enough. Queen goes here. He does not want to trade. It's fine, actually. Like, even if it's a scenario where the rook checks the king, my king is just going to move out the way. So I'm really not afraid here. I just want to be a bit careful. So let's say I attack his queen, right? I use my rook to attack his queen. He takes with check and I move. He sacked the rook and then I take. He checks. Nah, that's kind of too much drama. I can also push since his bishop is pinned. Then he sacked the rook and tried to get a draw. Okay, all of a sudden he's playing some good moves here. He's really playing some good moves. Alright, how does this work? I just need to be careful about him sacking the rook. So I'm going to play rook to d7, guarding the bishop. I'm going to allow him to take. It's fine. He's being very annoying. And then remember when I tell you guys that once you have a fianchetted bishop, it's hard to find anything? This is what I'm talking about. No one-side move. The only thing I was afraid of was the rook sack. Now that there's no rook sack since my rook takes, it should be fine. And his bishop is pinned. So he pulls the rook back. Now we're going in with the queen or with the rook. Hit the queen. Trying to set up some checkmating ideas on c2 as well. I'm expecting queen to g3. That will not help him though. Because once I put my queen here, I'm not only threatening mate, I'm also attacking the unprotected rook. So this is where we're going to either see resignation. So queen goes here, threatening unprotected rook, threatening mate. And it's not just the unprotected rook, because if I take the rook, I lose my rook. It's just the fact that how is he going to prevent checkmates? He moves the queen out the way, but now it's just checkmating too. We take check. The king then has to move. We take the bishop, and that's just a checkmate. So we take here with check. More than likely, he's going to resign here. More PIRC defense against 2,000 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 2,000. Let's finish this off with a banger of a PIRC defense. All right, so knight f3, we go knight f6, hit the pawn. Knight c3, we play g6. We're just playing our regular PIRC setup here, guys. Nothing too fancy in the opening. Bishop goes to g7. King is castled. And now we're seeing queen to d2. With a queen on d2, a bishop wants to go to h6. And whenever I see them play like this, I just move my rook out the way. And I try to meet bishop h6 with bishop to h8. Then they castle on the queen side. Now, these types of games are usually a bit more complex. And in these types of positions, if I play e5 now after the trade, I could lose material. So I'm going to first play knight d7, then try to play e5. If he plays e5 takes, then that's kind of bad for me. But if he plays e5, I'm going to be able to play knight g4, and it immediately attacks his bishop. So he plays bishop to d3. Now we play e5. Very good. Eventually, I want to play c6. And because it's opposite side castles, you guys are going to be seeing some b5, a5. Maybe the queen is going to come in the attack. Like, you know, the typical PIRC defense type of attack, right? Okay, now he decides to put the bishop on c4, which means I have to look out for some sacrifices. I have to look out for some knight coming in. Basically, just have to be careful here. Knight g4, there's bishop g5. If I takes, knight g4 is still strong. So let's go with knight b6, hit the bishop. Bishop goes back. Can I go bishop e6? Nah, I think that could cost me a pawn. It's a bit tricky here. So bishop goes back. I take. Knight comes to g4. He's threatening mate. Maybe pawn to d5. Knight takes is an idea. Let's just take here, guys. Takes, let's just ensure that the checks are not working, because there's also ideas of me taking on e4, and obviously moves like bishop g4 I want to come in as well. But if I go bishop g4, he still puts the knight on g5, because if I take the rook, that's mate. So we still have to be careful. There's also some cool little ideas where I play c5, attack whatever he uses to take back, and then try to play c4 and trap the bishop. Okay, he did play knight g5, because if I take his knight, he takes here. The move that I considered was d5, because if pawn takes d5, then I take. If knight takes d5, knight takes d5, pawn takes d5, and then at that point, knight g4, hit the bishop. Assuming the sack does not work. Wondering if I should just go bishop e6. That's a bit too passive. You know what I'm going to do? Let's just play rook e7. It's fine. I'm just going to defend f7 with my rook. If he wants to give up 2 minor pieces for the rook, that's on him. I think it's going to make it easier for me to attack with moves like bishop e6, and then both my bishops are going to be pointing towards his king. Okay, knight d5. Wasn't expecting that. But now I take with this knight, not the f knight, this knight. Because, I mean, obviously if he takes with the bishop, I'm going to take. But if he takes with the pawn, then his bishop is basically dead. So does that mean he has to take with the bishop? I mean, his bishop is not dead in a case where I capture the bishop, but his bishop is going to be pointing towards his own pawn. So he did take with the bishop. Okay, fair enough. take the bishop, pawn takes, and then I'm just ahead by a pawn. Knight g4 I still like since it hits his bishop. Knight g4, knight takes f7. I take queen to f4. I can always just take on h6. Queen takes h6. Maybe queen f6. And if it's ever a case where it's two minor pieces for the rook, it has to be good for me. Knight g4, queen f4 shouldn't work. Yeah, we're going with knight g4. Like I can take the bishop, but I'm not seeing exactly how I'm going to try to win the game when I take with the bishop. And I'm already ahead by a pawn, by the way, guys. Keep that in mind. So if I'm ahead by a pawn, and then it becomes a case where I just have two minor pieces for the rook, then it's definitely going to make my life easier. That I wasn't expecting. Knight just pulling the knight back to f3. Guess you don't want to give up the two pieces, but we know the drill, guys. Once we eliminate his bishop, we're chilling. I'm also going to put my bishop on g7 just to chase his queen out of my half of the board. There's also two pieces attacking d4, so I need to keep that in mind. So I'm either going to play pawn c5 or bishop g4. I'm ahead by a pawn, and I'm not planning on giving him back the pawn. Also, this bishop is the main piece guarding the pawn. So based on where he puts his queen, okay, that's a good score for the queen. It prevents this. My rook can't really move. Okay, pawn c6. Let's say the bishop goes all the way back. Or, okay, I don't want to give him that pawn. Pawn c5. Pawn c6. Let the bishop move, then play pawn c5. So it's kind of like I'm wasting a move, but I'm doing it just to ensure that his bishop is not on my half. What if I push and he plays here? I take, he check, I move, he has nothing. I'm fine. Because I have to keep in mind that my rook is kind of pinned here. And the queen is unprotected because my queen and the rooks are not connected with each other. So he pulls the bishop back, and my whole idea was to play c5 anyways. But I didn't want to just play c5 and leave his bishop on d5. Now if he puts the bishop back on d5, it's going to be a case where it's my turn to play. And if I had just played c5 in one move, it would have been his. So you guys see what just happened? This is very cool. If I had played c5, it would have been his turn to play. But because I played c6, then c5, and he puts the bishop back on d5, it's now my turn to play. And I basically just won myself a tempo. So now I play bishop to e6. If he takes, I play rook takes. Knight g4. Okay, knight g4 is nice because he hits this and this. If I takes, queen takes, king over takes. Okay, maybe I should just play h6. h6, knight takes, hit the bishop. h6, bishop takes, hit the knight. h6 is fine. Yeah, h6 is perfectly fine. Wasn't expecting that though, because now we have an opposite colored bishop scenario, which means even though I'm ahead by a pawn, I'm not thinking about too many trades here. But what I can do is start a very vicious attack on his king. Okay, first d5 is not bad. I want to go b5, rook b8, and then target b2. But if push takes, if I takes, there's queen takes. So we can't allow that just yet. So let's go g5 first, hit the queen. And if the queen hits the pawn, then we play d5. Now we play d5, hit the bishop. If takes, the bishop has to move. And if he puts the bishop back on b3, that bishop is getting trapped. Even though my bishop is pointing towards my own pawn, my bishop is very active because my pawn is still mobile. Okay, takes, I take. Where is he going to put the bishop? Maybe on this diagonal, trying to get the queen here. But we hit him here, hit the bishop again. Bishop here, okay, maybe there's some little threats there. But queen b6 is already targeting his focal points. Guy's in trouble here. Trouble. Good. Wait. What if I just don't care about this, play queen a5 and attack the pawn? Now, what is my pattern recognition seeing here? Because remember, guys, I've done a lot of training, so my pattern recognition is not bad. In this position alone, I'm already trying to set up a low-list mate where I push c3, and if he push, I go here, and he's not able to prevent mate. Once I play c3, it's going to be hard for him. Like, I'm not expecting him to push, but my next move is going to be here, threatening mate. And if he tries to prevent the mate, there's queen a3. Again, this is how pattern recognition works. And by the way, guys, two things. The game is about to end. We're at the end of the video. One, please like the video if you haven't as yet. It really supports the channel. And another big way to support the channel is send the word book to this email to pick up a copy of my book. I does not care. I played c3. Maybe he thinks if I takes, he goes with his attack, but that's not how it works, buddy. Because now once I go here, I'm threatening mate. It's not a case where he's able to run with the king or anything. He's just mated. Again, I'm setting up a low-list mate. If pawn b3, there's no way to prevent mate, maybe he's going to check, and if I take, he's going to take with check. But if he check, I'm just going to play king h7, and then he's literally going to have no more checks. Even after this check, okay, I don't want to move my king in the corner. Oh, shoot, that's not bad because the queen has more checks. Let's be careful. Maybe I should sack. Nah, let's not sack. Here, check, here. Why did I allow him to have so many checks, bro? Here, check, here. And then there's no more checks. So we're basically going to run the king to d8, and then he's going to be getting checkmated. So this is another skill that you guys need to have. It's a very good defensive skill because usually when you allow the opponent to check your king, they have the attack. But sometimes you can just allow the check because you notice the check, and then you're like, okay, after this, he has no more checks because my pieces just prevents all the possible checks that he has. So now that he plays b3, we put the queen here, and there's no way for him to defend or prevent a checkmate, which means his next moves has to be check. Like if he does not check my king, he's mated. So let's move. Let's see the next check, and I'm just going to be escaping the checks. That's another check, but once I move, my pieces prevent any check from him. That's one check. I'm just going to take. Rook comes over with check. Then I just hide behind my rook, and then there will be no more checks. That's a check. Yup, saw that. Just gonna take. And then once I put the king on f8, there's absolutely no more checks. Don't mind if the rook comes over. I mean, there are checks, but he's gonna have to sacrifice. I don't count those as checks. He's more than likely gonna resign very soon here. So he came in with a rook, hide behind the rook, and if you put this on the stockfish, they're gonna say sacking the queen, he resigns.